Hello and welcome to Bite My Pie. With advances in technology, the modern personal assistant can now look very different. And while you can take your pick of ready-to-go devices from a range of well-known brands, how about building your own? Well, that's precisely what we'll be doing in this video. Using nothing more than a Raspberry Pi and a few low-cost accessories, we'll install the free and open source Mycroft voice assistant software to create our very own digital helper. So if this sounds of interest to you, stick around. As I mentioned in the introduction, we'll be taking the DIY approach with our voice assistant in this video. But if you prefer your tech a little more ready to go, Mycroft also comes in a more polished, off-the-shelf form. You can visit the URL below for details. Note, at the time of this recording, it seems as though the Mark I version is sold out. However, it looks as though the more advanced, upcoming Mark II model can be reserved. Okay, for those of us that would sooner tinker with the nuts and bolts of a project, let's build our personal assistant. To carry out this project we'll require the following: a Raspberry Pi 4, I'll be using the 8GB model but any Pi 4 should be fine, a suitable power supply for your Pi, a MicroSD card, mine's a 64GB card but 16GB would be ample. Next we'll need some speakers. I have a set of Pebble V3s. Any speakers with a 3.5mm audio jack will do. We also need a microphone. I've got a cheap and cheerful USB mic I picked up from Amazon. Ideally you'll want a case to put your Raspberry Pi into. Then for the setup procedure we'll also require a monitor and a micro HDMI to full-size HDMI cable to connect it to your Raspberry Pi. Lastly we'll need a USB keyboard. Again, this is just for the initial setup. Oh, and I almost forgot, we'll need a desktop PC or laptop for getting started. Okay, so switching over to that computer, let's open a web browser and we're going to search for Mycroft. It's this one we want, mycroft.ai. From the home page we'll head to Setup and then click on the download link. You can see there's a version of Mycroft built specifically for the Raspberry Pi. It has the ingenious name Picroft. So let's download that. The project is hosted on GitHub, which if you're not familiar is a very popular repository for developers to store their open source projects. So let's scroll down the page and we want to grab the latest stable release and then click on the download anyway link. And I'm going to save that to my downloads directory. At 3GB it's a pretty hefty download. So while that's downloading, let's search for the next piece of software. We're looking for the Raspberry Pi Imager, and we can get that from raspberrypi.org. If you scroll down the page and click on the download link for your operating system, and then save that one as well. While we wait for those to download, it's the perfect opportunity to grab that all-important coffee. Right, now that we're suitably refreshed and have the software that we require, let's close the web browser. And if we head to File Explorer's Downloads directory, we can start setting things up. First we need to install the Raspberry Pi Imager. So let's click on Yes to do just that, and then click on the Install button to start the installation. With the imaging software installed, let's run the program. And if you haven't done so already, now's the time to connect your microSD card to the computer. Next click on Choose OS. And if you scroll down to the bottom, we're going to click on Use Custom. Make sure that you navigate to where you downloaded the Pycroft image, then select the file and click on Open. From there select Choose Storage and click on your microSD card. Then we can click on Write to copy the image to the microSD card and select Yes to continue. With the process complete, let's click on Continue and close the program, and then you can remove the microSD card from your computer. The time has come. Make sure that the monitor, keyboard and power supply are connected to your Raspberry Pi. Also attach the speakers and microphone, insert the microSD card and then power on. After a minute or two and a couple of restarts, you should reach the Pycroft setup screen. Here you can opt to get help using the guided setup, so let's type Y to do that. Next we need to set up the Wi-Fi connection on our Raspberry Pi, so enter the number 1 to do this. At the prompt you need to type in the name of your wireless network and then press enter on your keyboard. Next type in your wireless password and press the enter key, then type it in once more and press enter to confirm it. Now we need to set up the hardware. You need to select your type of speakers. If like mine yours also have a 3.5mm audio jack, then choose option 1. I'm going to leave the volume as is and press T to test it. Okay, so while that sounds loud enough, it's actually coming out of the speakers in my monitor and not my standalone speakers. If yours is doing the same, don't worry, it should be fine after we disconnect the monitor later on. For now I'm just going to type D for done. Next we need to configure the microphone. As I'm using a generic USB mic, I need to select option 4. With that set we need to press any key on the keyboard and then speak into the microphone to test it. As you can see, it's actually decided to run a software update first. If yours does the same, just wait for this to finish. If you miss the microphone test at the end of the update, just press 2 to run it again. Then re-enter your type of microphone and then press any key to restart the test. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Testing 1, 2, 3. And yes, I did hear myself in the test, so I'll press 1 to confirm. Since I'm not a developer, I just want to run the master updates automatically, so I'll go with option 1. For Pycroft to function correctly when it's no longer connected to a monitor or keyboard, I'd suggest sticking with the normal Raspbian configuration. So let's press 1 to do that. By default, Pycroft uses the username Pi and the password Mycroft. For security, I'd recommend changing this default password. To do that, type Y, then pop in your new password and press enter. Type it in again and press enter to confirm. As it tells us, setup is now complete. This is referring to the software setup on the Raspberry Pi. As you'll see in a moment, we still need to sort out our Mycroft account. So let's press any key to launch Mycroft. And now let's press enter to launch the Mycroft CLI client. Now we just need to wait for Mycroft to give us some instructions. Let's zoom in while we're waiting.
Before we get started, go to account.mycroft.ai to create a Mycroft account.
So in a moment, as instructed, we'll need to go to Mycroft's website to set up a free account. But before we do that, let's wait for the rest of the instructions.
Connected to the internet and need to be activated. Open your browser and visit account.mycroft.ai/pair to register this device.
As Mycroft just explained, once we have our account, we'll need to register the Pycroft device in order to activate it. Let's keep waiting for the final instruction.
Register this device with the code J as in Juliet, M as in Mike, P as in Paul, V as in Victor, R as in Romeo, H as in Hotel.
This final instruction is the most important, as it's the pairing code we'll need to apply to our Mycroft account in order to register the device. So make a note of yours. Okay, so switching over onto my Windows computer, I'm going to open a web browser and head to mycroft.ai. From the home page, click on My Account, and if you don't already have a Mycroft account, you need to click here on Create an Account. Once you've got your account, fill in your email and password, and then click Login. I don't want Chrome to remember my password. The first thing we need to do is click the little icon at the top right, and then select Devices. And then we're going to choose Add Device. And this is where you're going to enter the pairing code that Mycroft has given us. So in my case, that's capital J, capital M, capital P, capital V, capital R, and capital H. Next, we need to give the device a unique name. I'm going to go with Bite My Pi. Optionally, you can enter the location where you're going to place Pycroft, so it could be, for example, the study. Then you can enter the country, region, city, and time zone. When it comes to voice, you have three choices. There's British Mail, which is the one that we've heard so far, American Mail, or Google Voice. To quickly summarise each one, British Mail sounds the most robotic of the three. This is because it can be synthesised on the device. So if your internet connection's not great, this is probably the one to go for. By the way, if you're interested, this one uses the Mimic 1 text-to-speech engine. American Mail is a little more natural sounding. This one is cloud-based and uses the Mimic 2 text-to-speech engine. Then lastly we have Google Voice. This one sounds the most natural of the three. As you've probably deduced, this uses Google's text-to-speech engine, connecting through the Google Translate text-to-speech API. So choose which one you want. For the purposes of this video I'm going to go with Google Voice. Then at the bottom of the page we can choose the wake word. This is what you say to activate your personal voice assistant. I'm going to leave it on Hey Mycroft and then click Next. As you can see on the screen, the device is now ready.
I am ready for use.
And you can probably hear in the background that Mycroft is giving us examples of things that we can ask it.
About Abraham Lincoln or Hey Mycroft, play the news.
So let's click on Finished, and we can see that we're connected. Okay, let's log out of our account and close the web browser. And hopping back onto Picroft, there's one last thing I recommend doing before disconnecting the keyboard and monitor, and that's asking for the device's IP address. Hey Mycroft, what's your IP address?
Network IP address is 192.168.0.50.
When you've got that, if you hold down the control key on your keyboard and press C, then we can type sudo space power off and press enter to shut down the Raspberry Pi. Right, you want to disconnect your monitor and keyboard, make sure the microphone and speakers are still attached, and then power the Pi back on. Give Picroft about a minute to boot up properly and then you're ready to begin. This next step, while not strictly necessary, can be useful to keep an eye on what Mycroft is doing. Notice I'm back on my Windows computer. I'm going to set up remote access so that I can log into the Raspberry Pi over my home network. SSH or Secure Shell is already enabled in Mycroft, so we just need to make sure it's turned on in Windows as well. To do that, head to Settings, into Apps, and then into Optional Features. Hopefully you'll see the OpenSSH client already in the list. If not, you need to head into Add a Feature and add it. I'm just going to close out of there. Next we need to open the command prompt by typing cmd and then selecting it. And this is the reason that I asked Mycroft for its IP address, as we're going to enter it in here. So type ssh space pi at and then Mycroft's IP address, which in my case is 192.168.0.50. When you've done that, press enter on the keyboard. As this is our first time connecting, we need to type yes and press enter again. And then you need to enter the password that you created for Mycroft during the setup and press enter once more. And when you're viewing this screen, you're ready to start communicating with Mycroft. Remember, you could just speak to Mycroft without being remotely connected, which when you're happy that everything's working properly is probably how you'll use the voice assistant most of the time. So let's begin. Hey Mycroft, what's the definition of artificial intelligence?
The definition of the word artificial intelligence is the demonstration of intelligence and creativity by computers. The branch of computer science that studies, develops and assesses this phenomenon.
So you can see that Mycroft retrieved this answer using the Wolfram Alpha computational knowledge engine. Let's try another one. Hey Mycroft, what's the weather like?
Right now, it's scattered clouds and 30 degrees. Today's forecast is for a high of 30 and a low of 20.
As well as providing us with a weather forecast, Mycroft can help us with our spelling. For example, hey Mycroft, how do you spell artificial?
A-R-T-I-F-I-C-I-A-L.
If you say something that Mycroft doesn't quite hear, you may see this message, in which case simply repeat the question. Hey Mycroft, set a timer.
How long of a timer?
10 seconds.
Alright, I've set a timer for 10 seconds.
Hey Mycroft. Stop. What if we'd like to keep up with recent events? Well, Mycroft can help us with that as well. Hey Mycroft. Play the BBC News.
Give me a moment to check for that. Here is this hour's news on BBC News.
This is the Global News Podcast from the BBC World Service.
So you can hear that that's going to play the latest news from the BBC.
GMT on Monday the 19th of July, these are our main stories.
And I'll stop that now. Hey Mycroft. Stop. What about if we need to set an alarm? Well, we can do that too. Hey Mycroft. Set an alarm for 4:32 p.m.
I've set an alarm for today at 4:32 p.m. 49 seconds from now.
Hey Mycroft. Set an alarm for 4:35 p.m.
I've set an alarm for today at 4:35 p.m. 3 minutes from now.
And if we skip ahead a little bit, the first alarm should go off shortly. Hey Mycroft. Stop. Hey Mycroft. Status of alarms.
An alarm is set for today at 4:35 p.m. 3 minutes from now.
Hey Mycroft. Cancel the alarm.
Do you want to cancel the alarm for today at 4:35 p.m.?
Yes.
I've cancelled the alarm for today at 4:35 p.m.
Hey Mycroft. Remind me to walk the dog in an hour.
Sure. Saving a reminder for 5:39.
Hey Mycroft. What's the status of my reminders?
Your next reminder is walk the dog at 5:39.
Hey Mycroft. Reminders.
Do you want to clear the entire list of reminders?
Yes.
All reminders have been cleared.
What if we want to change Mycroft's volume? Hey Mycroft. Volume status.
The volume is at 8.
Hey Mycroft. Set volume to 5.
Volume changed to 5.
Hey Mycroft. Set volume to 8.
Volume set to 8.
We can also use Mycroft as a sound recorder. Hey Mycroft. Start recording.
Starting recording for 1 minute.
Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Hey Mycroft. Stop. Hey Mycroft. Playback recording. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Hey Mycroft. Stop. Hey Mycroft. Delete recording.
Recording deleted.
We can also use Mycroft as an educational resource. Hey Mycroft. Tell me about technology.
I'm checking Wikipedia for technology. Technology is the sum of techniques, skills, methods, and processes used in the production of goods or services or in the accomplishment of objectives. such as scientific investigation.
As it tells us on the screen, if we want to quit, we can hold down the control key and press C. From here, if we wanted to turn our Raspberry Pi off, we could type sudo space power off and press enter. Alternatively, to leave Pycroft running and simply log out of our remote session, we can type exit and press enter, and then we can close the command prompt window. In order for Mycroft to communicate, it uses skills. You can think of these as being like apps for the voice assistant. Like the official Mycroft hardware, Pycroft also comes with a number of skills pre-installed. But if it's unable to do something out of the box, you may be able to add a new skill to gain the functionality you're after. To see what skills your Pycroft device currently possesses, log back into your Mycroft account using the URL shown on screen. Then from the drop-down menu at the top right, select Skills. To find out more about a particular skill, first click on it and then select Skill Details. Notice this has opened a new tab in our web browser. Here you'll find a description of what the skill does, a list of devices that this skill supports, obviously we're using Pycroft, and then perhaps most importantly, a list of the commands that the skill understands, or in other words, what you need to say after your wait word for the skill to work. So in this example, we could ask for Pycroft's IP address by saying what's your IP address, like I did earlier in the video. But we could issue any of these other commands as well. So we can use these skill listings to learn how to communicate with Pycroft. Perhaps better yet, if we click on Marketplace and then select Skills, we get a complete list of all the available skills. You can see that any skills that are already installed have a green tick on them. So how then do we install a new skill? First, find a skill that you'd like to add. I'm going to go with List Manager. Make a note of your skill's name. OK, I've logged out of my Mycroft account and I'm no longer logged into my Pycroft device, remotely or otherwise. So from here on in, I'm just going to talk to it. First, let's look at what happens if we ask Mycroft to do something that it doesn't know how to do yet. Hey Mycroft, add a new list called Shopping.
I'm not sure I understood you.
So as you can hear, Mycroft isn't able to complete the task yet. Let's set about increasing our voice assistant's capabilities. Hey Mycroft, install skill List Manager.
Confirming. Shall I install List Manager by #803?
Yes.
List Manager is now installed and ready for use.
Hey Mycroft, add a new list called Shopping.
Your new list shopping has been added.
Hey Mycroft, add apples to my shopping list.
Apples added to your shopping list.
Hey Mycroft, add bananas to my shopping list.
Bananas added to your shopping list.
Hey Mycroft, what's on my shopping list?
In your shopping list you have apples and bananas.
Hey Mycroft, remove my shopping list.
Are you sure you want to delete shopping?
Yes.
Your list shopping has been removed.
So that's an example of how we add and use a new skill. But what about if we decide we didn't want that skill after all? Hey Mycroft, uninstall skill List Manager.
Confirming. Shall I remove List Manager by #803?
Yes.
List Manager has been removed.
Of course, Mycroft isn't all work and no play, so let's try a couple of more fun examples. Hey Mycroft, tell me a joke.
Code runs faster when Chuck Norris watches it.
I don't think you'll be holding your sides to stop them from splitting anytime soon, but if you've got some time to kill, you could find out whether the jokes get any better. Now let's try a really unsettling skill. Hey Mycroft, sing.
I would be happy to sing for you.
Don't blame it all be sunshine. Don't blame it all be moonlight. Don't blame it all be good times. Just blame it all be poppy.
And there you have it. So let's say farewell. Cheerio, Mycroft.
Bye bye, bite my pie.
Periodically it's a good idea to check that Picroft is up to date. So before we finish, let's look at how to do this. As you can see, I'm remotely connected to Mycroft from my Windows 10 computer. I'm going to press Ctrl-C on my keyboard to cancel out of Mycroft's command line interface. From here, type cd space tilde and press enter to make sure that you're in the Pi's home directory. Finally, type bash space update.sh and press enter to run the update. And when the process is completed, we can type exit to log back out. And that brings us to the end of this video. If you'd like more help or information about Mycroft, you'll find some useful links in the video description. Hopefully, even if you've never used a voice assistant before, you're starting to see some of the benefits of doing so. So what are you waiting for? Short of rubbing a magic lamp, who else are you ever going to get to say,
Your wish is my command?
As always, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. And if you'd like to be notified when I post the next one, just click the bell icon. Thanks for watching, and until next time, take care.